Hi. So I wanted to talk about hypocrisy. Isn't that a pretty statue here? Um, and how, yes, you spoke a lot about hypocrisy. And you can look into that in the Bible. There's Matthew 23. And there's a lot of hypocrisy that is cited by Yesu. And I think that the churches have gotten away from teaching people about his form of logic in understanding how we are controlled by other people's rules and laws that are contrary to natural law, which is God's law, which is the good, which is logic, which is truth, which means, for instance, that the ocean is salty. That's truth. That when the sun comes out, trees and grass grow upward towards it. That's truth. That when there's fire, there's smoke. Okay, so everybody can observe that. And the hypocrisy that is going on is based on our lack of discernment for what is the difference between discernment of logic, discernment of truth. I am in a small town in Palm Beach County, not that small, but in any case, I was shocked to find I've been here, this is my third time, that you are not allowed to buy liquor after 10 p.m. I arrived on vacation here, I took a nap, and then I went out to get a beer at the gas station on foot, walking, and there were 5 sheriffs there. And I talked to them, and then when I went in the store, the 2 young Latinos that were working there said, "Yeah, I can't sell you anything. It's after 10 p.m." So I just want to share with you that doesn't make any sense that you can't buy what you want. And the more that rules are, and it only happened 6 months ago. And then so I went down to the little downtown area and I had a beer and I spoke with the bartender and she said to me the same thing. She's like, "Yeah, they told us that, yeah, but you can go to another that after 10 you can't buy liquor or beer, but you can go to another gas station or sell it." And I go, "It doesn't matter. It's wrong that the people are even scared." So I got a beer there and the glass was from Bud Light. And on the glass that I know, because I'm in the bar business, I know they give all these glasses out free. And as a bar owner, all you're trying to do is reduce cost. So if you get all these glasses for free, you're like, hell yeah, I'm not going to go buy them. And it says on there, Florida, drink easy. Like, don't drink so much. It's like, that's the opposite of what a bar wants, especially in a beautiful walking area like this. And especially since by law, you can have 1 drink per hour, according to Florida law. So if we were not allowed to have drinks and still get in the car and drive a vehicle, then there would be no parking lots at bars, right? Yeah, so that's hypocrisy, right? I am on a little vacation. I'm very excited. I hope to have more lives this week. I feel like motivated to start talking more about the electromagnetism and other topics that fascinate me. But this trip is about electricity, and I'm going to be swimming in the ocean every day. And I want to talk about weather and geoengineering. The gentleman sitting next to me in church on Sunday was an older gentleman, and one of the best things that happened, 2 things that were beautiful that happened at church on Sunday, were that this older gentleman that sat beside me and had helped me jump my car a couple weeks before and was very nice, said to me, I said, "These clouds are not normal. We have these crazy clouds going on in Central Florida. They're really low. They're gigantic. They're big. They're weird. You can't see the sun. You can't see the moon. There was a new moon. We can't see anything. So I said to him, these, and he goes, oh, I totally agree. He goes, that they're seeding the clouds, that they're changing our weather. And I was like, wow, because this church, they don't talk anything about reality. And so that made me glad that this older gentleman knew about geoengineering. He goes, and he basically said, and they want to kill us with the air, so with the weather. I was like, amazing. And then a friend of mine who has been struggling with her weight, and we've been friends for over a year, she said to me that she lost 14 pounds in 1 week, and she did it because she fasted, and that she listened to me, and that she decided to fast, and that she feels great. And I'm so happy about that, because I know that in my life, when I have fasted, I've done 5 3-day fasts and one almost over 4. And it really, not only do you cleanse your body, but you're also cleansing your mind, and you're strengthening the muscle, which is your brain, for self-discipline. And discipline is everything, right? We need to understand that the disciples of Jesus were called disciples from the word discipline, right? And that the more disciplined we are, and the more we push ourselves to do things physically challenging, the better and the longer our lives are going to be, in my opinion. So I have a message here. Hey, DeWitt. Wow, hi. I saw your notification and wanted to convey my hellos. Am currently wrapping things up over at Ironworks. Okay, Victoria, Salt, enjoy your upcoming reprieve. Much respect. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful message. I greatly appreciate it. I'll go on Ironworks. I have time this week, and I'll engage, and I'll see. I'm going to be on I'm going to be interviewed tomorrow. I'm very excited on a podcast, and it's I think it's called The Telephone. I do not know why it's so hard to find it, except that the algorithm does not want us to find it. But I love this channel. It's 4 guys. I think they're about in their 30s. One's wears sunglasses, so I can't tell. But they are great, and they believe in the same cosmology. They're totally up on things, and I'm excited. So we'll see what happens. If that even happens, I'm sure it's going to happen. It's no ifs. I'm not going to say ifs anymore. It's going to happen. It's going to be fun. So I will post when I get around to finding out which channel that is. But I'm psyched about that. Okay. Hey, Sea Lightning. Wow. Okay. I have a question for you. Where does lightning emanate from? The ground or from the sky? And I think you've mentioned this, and I got onto this because of you, but it emanates from the ground. I'm going to wait for your answer. From the sky. So totally wrong. Okay. You have witnessed lightning over the ocean, correct? Hello, Nasute. We are dancers in vibration. I am a dancer, and I'm all about vibration, so I love that. Hey, Justin. Woohoo! No. Okay. Write me a paragraph, because I'm in the lightning capital of the world, and I walked in the storm today. There was a huge lightning storm on the property that I grew up on. And I want to tell you guys a story. This is why I went live. This is huge. I want to make sure I get this recorded. So I live next door to the house that I grew up in, which is about 8 to 10 acres horse ranch. And so I'm on the same land. And I was a little girl that was outside barefoot around animals all the time. Thank God. And so I was in the house today, and I was printing out my train ticket to come where I am now in South Florida. And I heard, and there was a storm going on, and it was really loud, and the horses were neighing in a level that I was very unusual and panicky. And again, my mom's a horse trainer, and I grew up with horses, and I have the horses around me. And I just jumped up from my chair in front of the computer, and I walked outside, and I just spoke, and the horses were going crazy. So we had 2 2-year-old thoroughbreds that were like, that means like young geldings, unfortunately, that were galloping around. They were so scared. And then a filly who's 2 to 3 years old, and then a older pony who's about probably in her 18-ish, which is older for horses, and then this little teeny miniature horse that was in my yard. And I said, and I just, God told me to do this. I went, everything's going to be good. Everything's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. And I put my voice into the air, and the horses came as close as they could to my house. And I walked out there and I talked to them. And I was like, look, the older mare, I go, look at the mare, look at her. And I just talked and I gave my voice. And I said, and I know this works with children because I worked with children and I took care of toddlers and I have children. And I said, look, as I'm talking, it is storming. There is this huge, massive sound through the clouds, sea lightning, like a motor going across the sky. Like that, it sounds like a motor going across the sky 4 different times. I walked down to the lake. I walked like I did as a little girl. Of course, nothing affected me because all the animals are outside too, and what are we going to do? And I really believe that our salt, our voice, our vibration, the God within us is what can change the weather. And the more that they have us inside, watching the news or on our phones and sitting in air conditioning, which is generated by a metal called fluoride, whatever you want to think about that. Maybe it's harmless, but I don't think so because I really don't think so. The more that we're in, and then so many of our houses have tin roofs or metal roofs, or we're living in a trailer, or we're living in our cars that are metal, or we're living in a new electronic vehicle, and we're being radiated to death. And I think probably the best thing we can do in a rainstorm is maybe be outside and to speak against it. And that's what I wanted to say, and I'm glad I got it out. So now I'm going to read the comments. Thank you for being here. What an honor. Okay. All right. So static electricity is in the air all the time. All right. I have a lot to say about static electricity. Not a lot. I got one sentence. I don't think that static electricity exists unless there is synthetic material present. And I'm reading, and this is my project these few days, I'm reading a basic electricity book, and static electricity requires a synthetic material to be present. And I will speak more about this when I continue reading and have more to say and can back up my statement. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to talk about electricity, electromagnetism. So my whole thing is this. I think that when people talk about electromagnetism, like I did until a couple of years ago, we are talking about something that we don't really know the meaning of the word. And electromagnetism is electricity created through the combination of metals. It requires a magnet to make that electricity. So magnets are made by man. There are magnets that are natural. I'm going to put up a video if you want. Actually, I'm going to put up a video for you to see about natural and synthetic magnets, and you come to your own conclusion. But in what I'm observing, but I would love your comments, is that the natural magnet is extremely, extremely weak, and I'm suspect of its source. So I'll just say that. And what 95% of the magnets that are used today in the world are made by man. That means that they require a chemical or alchemical process to create that magnetism that we all see when we buy a toy or whatever, and we see the magnetism with the children, or to the electromagnetism, which is, I'm going to say, energizing most things right now. So I don't believe that our bodies are made of metals, and the current theory that controls all science and chemistry and the Rockefeller allopathic system believes that we are made of ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. And phosphates are made by man, and the word phosphates comes from phosphoros. Phosphoros means light bringer, and that was the Greek god light bringer, and light bringer means Lucifer. So it seems to me that biblically and logically, maybe we should not have metals imposed on our bodies. I'm not saying that metals are bad in other sense. Like I live in this world, okay, where I'm able to talk right now. It's all metals. I get it. It's electromagnetism for me to be able to be communicating right now. I get that. But I believe that for my health and for your health and for our children's health, the most important thing is keeping metals away from our bodies, because I believe that we are a salt gel, and that salt is the antidote and the life and gives eternal life. And I believe that's what Yesu was speaking about in the Bible when he said that we are the salt of the earth, and that his disciples were useless, the disciplined ones, if they had no salt, they had no flavor. So that's what I wanted to say. I see that there's some comments, so I'm going to read them. I believe the bells can stop a storm. Oh, I love it. Like noise cancellation. Match the frequency of the storm and it stops. I believe you could even excite the air ether. Sesute, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Absolutely, I love it. Have you looked into I'm sure you have, that whole bell thing? That's fascinating. So the bell thing, I was in France last year, and we had an Airbnb next to, like the wall shared the church bell or several bells that went off every hour. And it was charming for a bit, but then you get like, why do you have to put it on every hour? I don't know. In any case, I think there's some programming going on if we look at time as a construct, and also the tonality of the bells and the size of them. And again, they're made by metal, but we know in the Bible that there's a lot of alchemy, and that when going into Joshua, that had to do with vibrations and musical instruments and chanting. And absolutely, and that's why I did that today with the horses, was I just decided to go with the vibrations of my voice. And of course it makes sense, because Yesu was a sheep herder. People that work with animals, we know that we calm them with our voice. And I train horses, and when you ride a horse and you're training animals, and I have cats, and I've had I grew up with a lot of different types of animals. The voice really helps them. With children, when you calm them, and as women particularly, but in men too, but as a woman who's taking care of babies, there's, singing to the children. There's so much to our vibrations. And I think that that's a message that is totally being lost because of the bastardization of anything that has to do with Yesu, because that's what they do. His words, and they have everything around it is garbage, but there's this, not necessarily garbage, but distraction to his words that are so powerful when we apply them to our lives. And I feel that his speaking truth, seeking truth, challenging the authority. And when they challenged him, he answered with a question. That's so genius. Like, who gives you authority over me, right? Who gives anybody authority over anyone unless we give them the authority, right? If I'm weak, okay. Yeah, weird answer. Okay, so you miss hearing the bells. Okay, so listen, that was just a theory. I could be wrong. And you know the bells, so who knows? Hello again, DeWitt. I'm glad you're back. Weird answers. If I'm weak or have no energy, I find walking or moving somehow gives me energy. I think it's friction in the body. Me too. I love bells ringing. I heard bells ward off demons. Yeah, look, totally possible. But I think it depends on the tonality of the bell. And right? And I'm sure you've heard about 432 megahertz and all of that, and how that's evidently been proven to help our brain get into a different relaxed state. And I am a music lover, and I love to dance, and I know how they affect me, but they know more than us. And they know how to program our minds on certain tones of music. And I think that the emanation of music from speakers and from digital sources is also part of the demonic control system, as opposed to acoustic music made by men or women using instruments that were made by men or women, that were from wood that was grown from a tree that somebody took care of and then lovingly chopped down at the right time when the moon was in the right place. Like, there's so many beautiful aspects to creating something nicely. Today I made butter. Again, I'm getting better at it, and I really am doing my best to use, I am only using wood. I have a ceramic old butter churn, which is enjoyable, and I put my salt in it from Colombia, and then I just run cold water over it, and I've got butter. And I made chicken last night. I had it in the oven for 8 hours. You guys, put it in your oven for 8 hours with salt and whey. So whey is the, I don't know if I'm right on this, but this is what I think. WHEY is the leftover buttermilk that's been sitting in room temperature, whatever your room is, and you have to use your own eye, and it gets into a certain state that's like gooey and wonderful and salty and smells different if you're not accustomed to this. But I think it's one of the greatest life extenders there is, and I drip it over the chicken. Did the thigh. Like I said, 8 hours. Then I put it on broil for like 10 minutes so that it got crispy on the top. Just my salt. Juicy. Amazing. Again, these are things you can do with any meat. And I think that if we, one of my future experiments will be the smoking of meat, but in a really basic way of just a fire and hanging fish or meat, any meat, over the fire with the smoke, because the smoke, and salting it, and embers, like not a direct fire, just very slow embers over days, because this is how it used to be. And we've got to learn how to do things without refrigeration and how it was before. And we don't need that much food. And we need to look at our sources of food. And I'm thinking more and more that our food should be older. It shouldn't be so young, because I think this is all about the whole extinction of fertility that is prevalent in their strategies for depopulation. Everyone should carry a pocket-sized bell, plausibly a handy demon tester. I think that is amazing. Frequencies, I hear bells, ward off. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's part of the whole scam. Maybe it's a psyop within a psyop. Because basically, we have got to discern, each of us, what energy is destroying our day, right? This is what I'm focusing on. Like, if it is my personal boundaries and keeping the people and the energies in my life that feel right at that moment, and the person that I'm allowing in my life proved who they were in the last 24 hours. And it's not what they did 10 years ago, and it's not what they did for me 20 years ago. It's, did you fulfill your word, what you told me you were going to do 24 hours ago, or in the last 2 weeks, or, in this recent time with us interacting? No? Then I need to really think about if you're going to stay in my life right now. Did you say something that was very rude and hurt my feelings, and you knew you were saying something rude and hurting my feelings, and you knew that you were doing that? That's not a friend. And I tell my daughters, people are rude to you, you walk away. Walk away. You can pray for them. You can turn the other cheek, and you look for another strategy, which is walking away or ignoring them. Or if you need to stay in contact with them, you look at another way. But no violence and no interaction with people that are wishing you ill. and no casting spells. We have to be very careful with our words. We have to be very, very precise with our words, because this is the spell making, is the choice of words, and the fear mongering is their major tactic. This is what the demons do. So you can have the bell and all of that stuff, and maybe the bell will help, but they're just scaring us all the time. This little town where I was just walking and had a beer in, and it's a tourist area, there were five other cops 2 blocks away from the gas station where they didn't sell liquor after 10 p.m. And they're just harassing this other gas station. And the only people that are drying beer are the homeless people, which I'm pretty sure were planted here. And they don't have any other option in their life except to live in these cities and play this cat and mouse stupid game with, it's just all a construct. And so when I talk to the homeless people or perceived homeless, I say, get into the countryside, go and grow something, individuate yourself from this system. It's not going to get better. This is accelerating. That's why the prices are going up. That's why you're seeing more police cars. That's why there's more and more rules. That's why there's more fear. That's why they're blocking out the sun, is they're trying to scare us. But we can reverse all of this. We can reverse all of this with talking. So we have here the Sute, Weird Answers in Vibration. I've got a book you'd love to read. EC Street, London, City of Revolution, all about bells, acoustics, and churches, singing, sacred geometry, and ley lines. Love it. Love it. Thank you. Great. Yeah, and I haven't gotten to the ley line thing. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. So you guys can, or whoever's listening can erase that. But that's the point. This is the point. Like, it's not a competition. It's about, let's get the information. We have children or children around us or grandchildren or people that you care about. Let's learn what sounds, what vibrations are good for us, because the, frequencies, as I've said in another podcast, I don't know, maybe I might change this now. They only exist when there's, again, a metal material there to be able to measure the frequency, which is the frequency, the amount of times that in a sound wave is happening. Okay. I did not define that very well, but I think the vibrations are non-measurable, and they have much more to do with they're more robust and natural than the digital frequency that can be measured, because measurement comes from in a binary form. And again, if you're measuring it, then you're in a man construct, and we're not in nature. All right, so I'm going to shut this down. I was inspired to speak tonight, and I'm so honored. Thank you so much for being here. This is so cool. I've never had so much conversation in my little chat. I hope you're having a beautiful Monday night. I'm going to be online a lot this week because I want to talk out ideas, and I love this interaction. Please talk. Please share ideas. Tell me what you think. Be kind, and we're going to counter this. We're so much more than these evil assholes, and it's just about talking and just and just throwing out comments here and there with people around you with a question, and then that question, you can walk away. I'll leave with this. So I walked by this little I don't know what they're called. They're like kava cafes. So I'm going out for a drink, and these people are drinking that drink. So I've tried it once, and it was sandy. I went in with my kids. I got the whole story. We tried out this stuff. I guess it's kava. I'm not sure. What I understood, it was from volcanic ash or something. So right there, my brain went, oh, I think volcanoes are man-made. And there were 4 people in their 20s and 30s sitting outside, and it's like 10:30 at night, a beautiful night. And I walked by, and I just went, hey, I think volcanoes are man-made, and isn't that kava from volcanoes or something like that, like really quick. And this guy goes, Well, it's made from potatoes made in volcanic ash. And I was like, okay. I still think, I go, that's very interesting. I said, because now, potatoes made vodka. And now vodka is made from wheat, which is GMO'd, and corn. And it's not potato juice anymore. So my head went into that. But I was like, okay, well, I'm like, just look into it. I'm like, I'm not looking to sell anything. I'm just telling you. And he was like, but it was cool because I was just walking by, but I came back when he said that and I said, oh, I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. And I said, but I do think that volcanoes are man-made. And then they started talking when I left. Right. And that's what I think we need to do, is just like encourage. He was like, really? Like, it was good about it, but it's about the energy and the tone and the moment and knowing you can escape and have a reason behind it, that that, like, I just learned this, I didn't know. I know how this sounds, but I'm not looking to sell you anything. So I want to leave you with that story. Then another guy told me that the kava comes from cactus grown in volcanic ash. Anyway, okay. Have a good night. Bye, guys.